I hate you. That's what a kid said to me recently. You see, over the last few months, I have been traveling across India to meet students. My goal? To talk to them about nature and wildlife. I want to leave them with a sense of wonder about the natural world and the simple steps they can take to help save it. During these sessions, I play a little game. I show the students an image of an animal that is camouflaged, and then I give them a chance to spot it. I want to play that game with you. Here's a picture of an animal that is camouflaged. Try and find it. You have 3 seconds. Pretty easy, right? I think most of you would have gotten it. There's a shikra at the base of that tree. Let's increase the difficulty now. Spot the animal in this frame. A little harder, but I think most of you still would have gotten it. There's a rat snake just peeking above the grass. Now there is one image that always stumps people. Out of 17,000 students, only 20 have gotten it. Let's see if you guys can do it. Spot the animal in this frame. Did you find it? Of course you can't. Thousands have tried before you and they failed. In fact, I'm sure there are some people over here who think there isn't anything in the image. But there is. The animal in this photograph is a green vine snake, and it is right there. Now, I was doing one session where I showed the students this image. And one after the other, they tried and they failed. And so after multiple failed attempts, I revealed it. After the session was over, one kid comes up to me. He is fuming. He says that he had spotted the animal and that he was angry that I had not chosen him to show it. And then he said those 3 fateful words, I hate you. For a moment, I was taken aback. No one had ever said those words to me, let alone a middle schooler. And yet there he was, glaring up at me with such ferocity as if I had personally wronged him. As I pondered over his anger while driving back, I realized that his frustration wasn't really about me. It was about the game, about the thrill of being right and the disappointment with not being able to share it. His anger was actually a glowing endorsement of a maxim that sums up the spirit of a student. Curiosity is the most powerful force. And it's precisely that force that we must harness if we are to talk about the natural world. Think about it. If a single camouflage snake could make a child so invested in nature, imagine what an entire forest could do, or a coastline, or a coral reef. But here's the challenge. For most people, nature has faded into the background. We are living during the 6th mass extinction. Oceans are warming. Wildlife is vanishing. And yet outside of a headline, most of us don't feel it. Not because we're evil, but because we are disconnected. Disconnected from a world that we will never see. Disconnected from creatures whose names we will never know. Disconnected from the knowledge that every breath we take is made possible by our living planet. The truth is, we have created a generation that knows more brand logos than native trees. Kids who know more celebrities than birds in their own backyard. Now, much of this disconnection can be traced to the current state of natural history messaging. Today, when we talk about nature, we tend to fall within some predictable traps. We make it very abstract, talking about carbon parts per million or ecosystem services as if nature was a spreadsheet. We make it very moralistic with a lot of finger wagging, saying you're the problem and you must change. And we make it very doom-filled, an endless drumbeat of everything is dying until the only rational reaction is to turn away. I believe we need change in this space. We need reform in how we talk about nature. We need a new modality, one that centers around curiosity. And in the 17,000 students that I've spoken to, I noticed a pattern. Here's what I've learned about sparking curiosity about the natural world. Number 1, don't speak in jargon. I was doing a session once when I was talking about the rainforest. It's a dense topic, and so I used dense language. And I watched as my audience's eyes went from this to this. Conservationists love Latin names and technical detail. The general public does not speak in that manner. And if the goal is to convince the broader public to come on board, we need to meet them where they are, and that means speaking plainly to the lowest common denominator. 2. Don't obsess over doom and gloom. You know, when I started this, I wanted to shock my audience into action. I wanted to bombard them with alarming statistics, thinking that would kickstart them into action. I talked about how we have lost millions of hectares of forests and how 1 in every 8 birds is threatened with extinction. But bemoaning the state of the world is a fine line. Compassion fatigue is real. And so while we talk about all these alarming statistics, we need to balance it with optimism and wonder. Because wonder opens people up, fear shuts them down. You get paralyzed. 3, we need to make it local. I'll confess, for far too long, I've been saying that wildlife is what is out there in the far distant corners of our planet. The truth is, wildlife is everywhere. In the monkeys that parade our streets, in the birds that flit across our campuses, in the lizards that scuttle across our gardens. People care about wildlife that they can relate to. You know, you should see children. When I talk about black kites, for instance, they lean in because this is a creature they've seen outside their window. And when I talk about polar bears up on the ice caps, they lean back. We don't only save what is exotic and fancy, we save that which we can relate to. And that starts by noticing the wildlife in our backyard. 4, we need to include people. For far too long, people have been excluded from the conservation narrative. Not only is this ineffective policy, it's also unjust. When we talk about the people involved in the space, it gets the broader public to relate to them on a human level. The forest guards who work so tirelessly to protect our wildlife, and the people who live next to wildlife, who sacrifice so much. It's one thing to say that a forest guard lives a hard life. It's another thing to say that he is out there sleeping in a hut deep in the forest, away from his family, doing the work that we aren't willing to do. Finally, 5, we need shift from helplessness to agency. Conservation can be exhausting, and therefore this must be ended with the door open to what actions people can take. Not grand, impossible gestures, but small, simple steps like how people can learn about their native wildlife and how they can plant native species. I think all of this points to a bigger shift towards curiosity. Because facts alone doesn't move people. It is curiosity that moves people. Curiosity isn't really about questions. It's about the questions. Questions that show us that there is still so much we have left to learn. A while back, I was doing a session and a kid asked me, Ishan, why is a female king cobra not called a queen cobra? I had no answer. None. And that's okay, because it showed that he is curious. If the next generation can hold on to that curiosity, if they can keep asking questions about snakes, forests, and their place on this planet, then maybe, just maybe, we have a chance. Thank you, everyone.